The night Mei-Lin was married, the snow fell so quietly it felt like the world itself was holding its breath. She stood at the edge of the church steps, her hands trembling inside sleeves that were far too thin for the winter cold, staring at a man she barely knew. His name was Daniel Carter, a rancher from a distant valley, a man spoken of in whispers and rumors she did not understand. All she knew was that she had been promised to him to settle a debt she never created, and that everyone who shook her hand that evening avoided her eyes, as if ashamed of what they had helped arrange. Mei-Lin had grown up believing marriage was supposed to begin with love, or at least choice. Instead, hers began with fear. She had crossed an ocean, leaving behind her mother's quiet apartment, the small teapot chipped at the rim, and the last warmth of a laugh where she had still belonged to herself. On the long journey, other women had warned her in hushed voices. Men like him were harsh, demanding, especially to women brought to them as obligations. Be obedient, one woman whispered. Endure. That is how you survive. Mei-Lin carried those words like stones in her chest. Daniel Carter watched her from a distance, seeing what others did not bother to notice. He saw how she flinched when voices rose, how she folded into herself like someone preparing for a blow that had not yet come. He had agreed to the marriage not out of desire, but pressure from family, from a community that believed he needed a wife to make him whole again after loss. When he learned the young woman arriving from China had not chosen this fate, something in him tightened with guilt. He had buried one life already. He did not want to destroy another. Their wedding was brief and awkward. No music swelled. No laughter filled the hall. When the vows were spoken, Mei-Lin's voice was barely a breath. Daniel's was steady but heavy, as if every word carried the weight of consequence. When it was over, applause came hesitantly, then faded too soon. That night, as Daniel drove them to his ranch, Mei-Lin pressed her forehead against the cold window, watching the lights of town disappear. She wondered how long it would be before cruelty revealed itself. The ranch stood alone beneath the moon, white and silent, surrounded by open land that seemed to stretch forever. To Mei-Lin, it felt like the edge of the world. Inside the house, everything smelled of wood and old memories. Daniel showed her to a room at the end of the hall. It was small but clean, with a quilt folded neatly on the bed and a lamp already switched on. He placed her suitcase by the door and hesitated, his hand lingering on the knob. "You can rest," he said quietly. "You must be tired." She waited for him to step inside, to claim what she had been taught was now his right. Instead, he stepped back. "This room is yours," he continued. "Nothing will happen here unless you want it to." Mei-Lin stared at him, confused. Men did not say things like that, not the men she had been warned about. She nodded slowly, unsure if this was some kind of test. Daniel met her eyes once more, then walked away down the hall, leaving her alone with the sound of her own heartbeat. That first night, Mei-Lin did not sleep. She sat on the edge of the bed, fully dressed, listening for footsteps that never came. Morning arrived quietly, sunlight slipping through the curtains like a promise she did not yet trust. Over breakfast, Daniel kept his distance, speaking gently, asking if she preferred tea or coffee, rice or bread. Each question felt unreal. She answered carefully, expecting kindness to vanish if she made a mistake. Days passed, then weeks. Daniel showed her the ranch, the horses, the wide fields that turned gold under the sun. He taught her names for things she had never seen before, and listened when she spoke, haltingly at first, about her life back home. He never raised his voice. Never touched her without permission. When neighbors came by, he stood beside her, introducing her with respect, shutting down crude jokes with a firm glance. People began to whisper again, but this time in confusion. Still, fear does not leave easily. Mei-Lin woke from nightmares, her body stiff with memories that were not her own but had been planted by others, stories. Daniel noticed the dark circles under her eyes, the way she startled at sudden sounds. One evening, he found her crying quietly in the barn, her hands pressed against her face as if trying to disappear. "I'm sorry," she said through tears when she realized he was there. "I'm trying to be grateful." "You don't owe me gratitude," Daniel replied. He sat a few feet away, not touching her. "You owe yourself peace." Those words cracked something open inside her. No one had ever told her that before. The turning point came during a winter storm that cut the ranch off from town. The power went out, and the house grew cold. Daniel lit the fireplace and wrapped Maylene in an extra blanket before taking one himself. They sat on opposite sides of the room, listening to the wind howl outside. The silence felt different that night, less threatening, more intimate. "I know you didn't choose this," Daniel said at last. "And I won't pretend this marriage is fair. But I want you to know something." He took a breath. "If you ever want to leave, I will help you. Ella give you money, papers, whatever you need. You are not trapped here." Maylin looked at him in disbelief. "Why?" she asked. "Because no one should belong to someone else against their will," he said simply. "I lost someone once because I didn't listen when it mattered. I won't make that mistake again." In that moment, the fear that had lived in Maylene's chest for so long finally loosened its grip. Tears streamed down her face, not from pain, but from relief so overwhelming it hurt. She realized then that compassion could be louder than cruelty, stronger than tradition, more powerful than fear. As spring arrived, Maylene began to change. She laughed more. She planted a small garden beside the house, growing vegetables and flowers that reminded her of home. Daniel watched her with quiet admiration, never pushing, never demanding. One evening, as they shared dinner she had cooked, she reached across the table and took his hand. Her touch was tentative, but real. "I want to stay," she said softly. "Not because I have to. Because I choose to." Daniel's eyes filled with tears he did not hide. Their story spread through the valley, and beyond. People who had expected cruelty witnessed patience. Those who believed power came from control saw it transformed into protection. Maylene, once a frightened bride, became a symbol of resilience. Daniel, once a man burdened by loss, became an example of what kindness could heal. Years later, when Maylene told her children about the night she arrived at the ranch expecting pain, she would smile at the ending. "I learned," she said, "that the greatest shock is not cruelty, but mercy. And the bravest thing a person can do is choose compassion when the world expects hardness." Their marriage, born of injustice, became a testament to humanity's quiet power to change, reminding everyone who heard their story that even in the darkest beginnings, love can grow where kindness is allowed to lead.